Do you guys wonder why Madden has been so trash the last couple of years? Because I remember the glory days of Madden, which were Madden 11 to Madden 17. The gameplay was pretty good, especially in Madden 25, NCAA 14. To me, those were the two football games that had the best gameplay, not named All Pro 2K5. But the reasoning for why football games made by EA suck now, including the new College Football 25 and the new Madden that's coming out, is because they continue to use a game engine that was never intended to be used to be developing sports games. And it never makes any sense why they use this new engine, but they used to use something called the Ignite engine. And what the Ignite engine was, it was an engine that was tailor-made for sports games to help replicate, realistic player animations or how players would respond to certain situations in real life. They had more realistic running styles. The way that they behaved was more realistic. But then they went to this Frostbite engine, which was originally intended for first-person shooters, and they are trying to make it work with these football games when it's not intended to be a game engine made for football games. You see, the Ignite engine was why NCAA 14 and Madden 25 are held in such a high regard when it comes to gameplay, because they had great physics in those games. Now, I get that the gameplay wasn't always perfect, but I could play those games for hours and never get tired of them. Meanwhile, I play Madden in the new College Football 25, and I get ready to turn that game off within the span of 45 minutes turning it on, because the way these players just move with these wonky animations is just really unbearable to watch. With some of these catching animations, like they're glitching through guys, the offensive line never really blocks properly, and people put a lot of blame on EA not hiring the proper developers for why these games suck. But I don't really think that the development team is a huge reason for why Madden continues to be bad. I think that these developers are being put in an impossible situation where you're asking them to make a football game with a game engine that isn't intended to be used for football games. How does this make any sense? You designed the Frostbite engine to be used for Battlefield and first-person RPG games, not to be used for sports. So why are you using them for sports? And the difference between the Frostbite engine and the Ignite engine is that from a graphic standpoint, you get more realistic crowds. The game looks more realistic than what it looked under the Ignite engine, but the Ignite engine gave you better, more smoother gameplay. And we keep wondering why they can never get the offensive line right, why the game always plays arcadey. I get that it's a football video game, so it's never going to be ideally similar to what we see in real life. But it just felt like, to me, NCAA 14 and Madden 25 and even Madden 13 just play so much better than the new Maddens that we have coming out. And why EA continues to put out these trash football games is because they continue to use a game engine that was never intended to be used for football games. Now, recently, last year in 2023, they came out and said that whoever develops their titles has the ability to use any other sports engine as they please. Don't know if we can trust them that they're telling the truth on that. But if they are, why haven't they developed a different game engine tailored towards these football games? Why not bring back the Ignite engine? They say that there's always a reasoning for why companies do certain things. But for EA, it seems like anytime something's working, they got to find a way to fuck it up and make it worse and then charge you more money for it. There was never a reason to go from the Ignite engine to the Frostbite engine. If anything, you should have built on the Ignite engine, which was already pretty good, gave you a really good infrastructure, but instead, you're trying to code a game that was never intended to be made on this kind of engine. And that's why these developers have such a hard time programming real football logic into these players, because they're trying to do it with so many limitations that gets placed on them because of them using a bad game engine that isn't intended for it. Why does EA Sports continue to develop Madden games and football games on this game engine? The only explanation I can give you is EA Sports, people. I spent 2-3 hours today trying to figure out what was the reasoning for them switching from Ignite to Frostbite, and the only thing I could see is that they just wanted all their games to be made with the same engine. Maybe the cut cost, maybe it was a lot easier if you just use one engine to develop every game. They thought that it would be easier on the developers. But I did see a lot of developers saying that coding games for Frostbite is a lot harder than what it was coding games for the Ignite engine. And back then, people said that making games for the Ignite engine wasn't the easiest. But it's more easier to build a game off an engine that's tailored towards a certain genre. That's like, I am a sports YouTuber, right? I'm never going to go into talking about politics because that isn't my area of expertise. So therefore, if I start talking about politics, I'm not going to give you as good as takes as I would talking politics as I would football, because I better understand football. That's where I have more knowledge at. That's like me being a great reader but terrible in math. So if I know that I'm great in reading, I wouldn't go to college and get a degree for something that's pertaining to mathematics like engineering or biochemistry. That's what EA's doing. They're trying to build a game using an engine that wasn't made to be making these kinds of games. And it blows the hell out of me, because I was talking to my homeboy about this a few nights ago, and he gave me a good idea to make this segment, because he was like, why don't you play Madden? Because people always tell me that I need to add B-roll for my footage. And the reason why I don't use B-roll is, for one, it gets copyrighted. And two, it takes too much time to implement into these live streams. But some people suggest that I have Madden or the new college football game being played in the background as B-roll footage. And I strongly push back against it, because I hate playing Madden. I haven't played Madden in the last couple of years. I've only played college football 25 because I wanted to see how good was it going to be. And I miss playing a college football game, and it actually has exceeded my expectations. But I'm not about to put an unrealistic game as some background footage for you guys to watch when it doesn't simulate real football. EA games are far from simulation. They call themselves simulation football games, but really, they're arcade football games at best. The reason why you keep on playing these trash football games is because EA keeps building them with a trash gaming engine that they were never intended to be built on.